بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everyone in today's class. This class is for the first secondary grade in English subject for the second semester, and the lesson is Unit 3, Writing Form and Function, from the book Mega Goal 2. It is prepared by Abdullah Hussein and presented by me, Mazen Al-Harbi. So welcome everyone. Our objectives in today's lesson are number 1, writing. We're going to know the formation on writing a complaint and also how to use the present perfect tense. And the last one is verbs with the gerund and what kind of verbs that must be followed by a gerund. So all of these we're going to discuss them today. So let's begin. Our warm-up question is, have you ever bought a product that turned out to be faulty or a lot less than you expected? Have you ever bought a product that turned out to be faulty or a lot less than you expected? And if the answer is yes or no, did you take it back? Why or why not? So, for example, let's say if you bought an earphones, okay, and like this one, and you find out that the cable is misplaced or broken, so what would you do? Would you, for example, of course, I'm sure that everyone bought a product that turned out to be false or less than what you expected. This has happened, and well, in this one we will say yes, I have. And for this, actually, in this type of action, the second one, did you take it back? Well, it differs because some people may think if we're talking about earphone, they would say, no, it's cheap, I won't bother to go back and return it and ask for a refund. I will just buy a new one. But I believe it's better, I would say, yes, I did actually take it back, okay, because it is better actually to indicate the problem that I'm having, because this problem may be available on other earphones. So it's better for me if I said, see, you have to change this because it's broken, and I believe this is the right thing to do. Okay, so it's regarding giving back or taking back a product that you bought and you find out that it's faulty or not what you expected. So now, of course, we know that some people complain in writing. Some people complain, but some of them actually complain in writing. So they write their own complaint. And the reason to do that is just to make sure that their complaints go on record. So, for example, what people tend, some or let's say most people tend to do when they are complaining is just to put their complaining in written, because they want them. They want their complaint to be recorded and to be, for example, documented, let's say, okay? So now we're going to read an example of a complaint letter on the next page, and we'll try to answer some questions regarding those complaint letters. So let's begin. So here we have this letter, and so this is Electronica, Customer Service Department, 345 Jackson Road, Baltimore, MD 23770. So this is the name of the address of the institution that I want to deliver my complaint to. Okay, so this is the address of the institution I am writing my complaint to. Okay, and here is the date. You have to mention the date in your complaint. Okay, and then you start greeting and you addressing the problem that you have. Okay, so again, this is the address of the institution that you want your letter to be delivered to, and the date. You have to mention the date. And here now we'll go to the content of this complaint. Let's read it together. Dear sir, I purchased a set of earphones at your store 3 days ago. According to your promotional material, any item that is faulty and is returned within 24 hours is fully refunded, and a discount voucher is offered for future purchases as a courtesy to the customer. Okay, so this is the first part of the complaint. He said that I bought an earphone from you, earphones from you, and you said that if I take it back, if I return it in less than 24 hours, you will give me back my money and extra to it a discount voucher if I want to buy anything else. Now we'll move to the second part. I attempted to use my earphones the day I purchased them and found out that one of the cables had not been connected. I therefore called your customer service department and was advised to return the earphones as soon as possible. So this is what in this part he said, I call you after the minute I found out about this problem, and you recommended actually to take these earphones and give them back. So let's see what happens. So in the third part, I drove to your place of business immediately and tried to do as advised. Unfortunately, however, I was told by the assistant that the earphones could only be returned if the packaging was intact. Okay, so this is a problem. If you return the item with let's say good packaging, okay, that it was not opened or misused, then it will be acceptable, but not in this case. So the fourth part, he said, allow me to wonder how one is supposed to find out if an item is faulty or not if it's kept in its packaging. And if that is the case, it would seem fair to include it in your promotional material in large black letters, instead of conveying the wrong message and misleading people. And this is very important. He said, okay, so you say if I have, let's say, a broken item or something, I can return it in less than 24 hours. Okay, so how am I supposed to do that when you say don't ruin the packaging or don't misuse it? This is impossible. So number 5, the last part of this complaint letter, he said, I regret to inform you that following this incident, I will refrain from using your retail outlet in future and will have to report you to Consumer Protection. Yours sincerely, a displeased former customer. So he said at the end that I really regret that this happens, and I will not using or go to your stores again, and I'm going to report this to the authority, the higher authority that to protect consumers. We call it the Consumer Protection, and there this is his signature, and he named himself a displeased former customer. It means he would never buy from them again. So this is an example of a complaint letter, and I found it really interesting because he mentioned all the parts. He explained the problem very let's say in a very organized way. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's a very, very good example on how to write a complaint letter. So now we do have a question regarding this letter. So let's read them together and try to find out about the answer. So, number 1. What was the problem with the item that the writer had bought? I believe the problem with his earphones was not connected properly. And the second one, what was the first thing he did and what was he advised to do? So the first thing he did, he said, I call your call center or customer service department and they advised me to return it to the store. Number 3, what did he expect the store to do and why? Well, according to their promotional material, he expects them to give a refund and to take it back and refund him plus a voucher. Because why? Because it's mentioned in their promotional material. And number 4, how do you think he feels about the whole incident? He of course is displeased, and how do we know this? Because he actually at the end of the letter he said a displeased customer. So again, so the answer, let's check. The earphones cables are not properly connected. This is right. And the first thing he did, he called the customer service department and was advised to return the item as soon as possible. And for the third question, what did he expect? He expected, of course, the item to be refunded and to be offered a discount voucher for future purchases according, why? This is the reason, according to the promotional material of the store. And how do we think, as reader, he feels about the whole incident? Well, he's, of course, is indignant and very angry. And because he expresses the way he feels in the content of the last 2 paragraphs. Okay, so this is regarding the complaint letter. Now we will move in to talk about form, meaning, and function. We're going to talk about the present perfect tense. And what I mean by the present perfect tense is that the tense that's used to talk about recently completed action. For example, if we have an action that we just completed, we just finished, we use this tense. For example, I have walked 5 kilometers today. I have walked 5 kilometers today. It means this action started in the past, but we finish it in in present. So this is why or when we use present perfect to talk about actions that happens in the past and finished recently, okay, near the present. And this is an example on how to form questions in the present perfect tense. Well, as you can see here, we can start our yes or no question in the present perfect tense, whether with has or had. It depends totally on the pronoun or the subject pronoun, as you can see here. It depends on the subject pronouns that follow them. So if it's he or she or it, we use has, and if it's they, we, I, you, we use has. Okay, so let's read the questions and the answers as well. So the question is, has he taken out the garbage? Has he taken out the garbage? We can, if we want to answer affirmatively, we can say yes, he has, or negatively, we can say no, he has not. And with have, we can say, have they taken the car to the garbage? We can answer affirmatively by saying yes, they have, or nay, or no, they have not. So this is regarding a yes or no question in the present perfect symbol. And now more explaining about the present perfect symbol. Well, with irregular verbs, the way the present perfect simple sentence form is like this. Form of have, whether has or have, and then the third form of the verb. The third form of the verb. For example, as you can see here, I or you or we or they, and then have, this is the form of have. So because of those subject pronouns, we use have. Okay, so I or you or we or they have spoken. This spoken here means this is the third form of the verb. This is the third form of the verb, which is, as we can see here, it must be in the formation of present perfect simple sentence. Okay, so again, we said the formation of the present perfect sentence is we use the form of have according to the, it depends absolutely on the subject pronouns they have. So if we have the subject, those subject pronouns, this form, we use have. If we have the other three subject pronouns, we use had. Okay, and then of course the subject, the third form of the verb. Okay. This is for irregular verbs, and for regular verbs, we actually use the form of have, whether have or has, and then infinitive that added to it an ed. Okay, for example, I have worked, or we can say he has worked. Okay, and again, the form of have depends. The form of have depends absolutely on the subject pronoun. If we face those subject pronouns, he, she, it, we will use has. If we use the others, we will use have as well. So now we also have some vocabularies that we can use to explain that the action happened recently. For example, just, already, up to now, until now, till over, ever, not, yet, so far, lately, recently. So we can use them. We can use the present perfect to talk about events that happened before now, just now. Okay. And it is possible that the event happened earlier than expected. So how can we express this? How can we express the action or the event that happens just before now? By those terms, by those vocabularies, by those words. And now we're going to see examples. For example, a question, if we said, have you done the dishes yet? Have you done the dishes yet? So it means if you finished them recently. So affirmative answer would be yes, I have already done them, or no, I haven't done them yet. Okay. And the second question, have you already washed the clothes? Have you already washed the clothes? We can say yes, I have just washed them, or I haven't washed them yet. Okay, so they both, yes or already, in one way or another have a similar meaning, but we use yet at the end of the sentence. We use yet mostly at the end of the sentence or of a question. Okay, so now we'll move to further example. It says here, use the present perfect to ask and answer about the picture. So we do have a different picture regarding, let's comment on them. The first one is regarding washing dishes. The other one is drinking, I believe drinking water, and vacuuming, and taking out the trash, and trying to fix the door. Okay, so what we need to do now is to form a question on each picture and answer them as well. So here is an example of the first picture. Have you done the dishes yet? Have you done the dishes yet? So here we use the form of have, and then the third form of the verb. The third form of the verb. Okay, the answer would be yes, I have already done them. I have already done them. We will see more example on this. The first one, have you cooked dinner yet? Have you cooked dinner yet? Yes, I have already eaten it. I have already eaten it. This is the third form of the verb eat. Second question. Have you cleaned your room? Have you cleaned your room? The answer would be yes, I have already done it. I have already done it. Number 3. Have you taken out the garbage? Have you taken out the garbage? Yes, I have already done it. I have already done it. Number 4. Have you fixed the door? Have you fixed the door? The answer would be yes, I have already done it. So you notice here that in questions we started with the form of have, and then the subject, and then the third form of the verb, okay, and we use yet just to indicate if it's just happening or not, and with the answers, of course, we use already. That is indication that the verb is just happening now or just before now. So now we will move to the last part of our grammar, which is using the gerund form, which is, of course, as we say, nouns and the shape of verb after the following verb. Okay, so we have certain verbs that we should actually use gerund form after it. For example, avoid, enjoy, give up, imagine, mind, stop, can't stand, finish, hate, keep, miss, and suggest. And we're going to show you, we're going to do an exercise regarding those, okay? So, for example of verb plus gerund, we said that, if you remember just in the last slide, we said that we do have certain verbs. Those verbs must be followed by a gerund, okay? So here is an example. He can't stand waiting in line. We cannot say he can't stand to wait online. And the second one, I do not enjoy sitting in the sun. We miss being with our friends. And the last one, they stop playing tennis in the winter. So those are examples, okay, on the kind of verbs that must be followed, follow it a gerund. Okay, so now let's try to put those words in order, and we will use gerund. So we have the subject pronoun she, and we have the verb clean, and the verb can stand, and the house. Okay, so what would we change here? We can, of course, let's say for the first one, we can start with the she, and then can't stand, that followed by clean, but now clean is the one we should change into gerund by saying cleaning the house. The same goes for the second one. We will start with the subject pronoun, which is our grandparents enjoy living, this is the one that should be changed into gerund, in the country. The third one is the children hate sharing their ice cream. And now we're going to see the answers written. So the first one, yes, she can't stand cleaning the house. And the second one, our grandparents enjoyed living in the country. And the third one is the children hated sharing their ice cream. Okay, so two changes we made here is that we change the verb, and it's we change the main verb and their third form, and then we add we change the verbs actually that we found in the sentence and gerund forms, as you can see, with sharing, living, and clean. So a summary of our lesson, we actually present the complaint letter, okay, and we now know how to write a complaint letter, and also we talked about the present perfect tense and also the verbs with gerund.